Welcome back to the Hive, everybody. And today we have a really great show for you. We have an early day Speedway legend. He was a fantastic Speedway rider. He was fast as lightning. And who was he? What was his name? His name is Lightning Larry Shaw. Larry was born January 17th, 1952 in Montebello, California. Do you know Montebello? It's off the 5 freeway going up towards Los Angeles. But he wasn't raised in Montebello, thank God. He was raised in Fullerton, California. Much better. Larry had a normal entry into Speedway in the early days. That's how they got into Speedway, through flat track, TT, and scrambles. Larry's father is named John Shaw, and John Shaw was, I believe, the first president of the SRA. And he built young Larry a Bull Taco Speedway bike, and he went ahead and was racing it at the Trojan Speedway at the short track. And Larry Shaw was gaining lots and lots of experience racing that Bull Taco Speedway bike around the Speedway track. And then young Larry, he started Speedway when Costa Mesa started up there at the fairgrounds in 1969. It was the summer of 69, yeah. Summer 69, Larry was started. He was in the B class when they started, and I believe he was in the first national championship in 1969. Larry raced in all the national championships. I believe it was 6 straight. And young Larry was a top-level Speedway rider. He was always in the top 5 in points. He was just really a great rider. He was a good rider because he was a thinking man's rider. He was using his brain all the time, and he had like 10 years plus of racing experience with the Speedway, and then the flat track, the TT, with his father all over the place. And he was a thinking man Speedway rider. And Larry Shaw never broke any bones in all those years. He was a good rider. Larry was kind of different than most of the Speedway riders because during the regular season he would just kind of cruise along and be in the top 5 in points. He was never number 1, but he would just kind of cruise along and stay safe and be thinking and preserving his body. And then when it came time for the United States Speedway Nationals, Larry picked it up. He went ahead and he went for it. And when the Nationals came, Larry Shaw was always on top. He was in a total of 6 Speedway National Championships, maybe more, who knows. And he was in at least 3 podium finishes out of those 6 or more National Championship events. And he just was good. He got 2nd or 3rd place, and he was just an amazingly consistent rider. Larry one year came just 1 point from winning the National Championship with 13 points. That event was won by Michael Bass with 14 points. However, Larry should have won that national championship. He was perfect all night long, and then when he had the race with Michael Bass, he got 3rd place. And if he had got 2nd place, he would have had a runoff with Mike Bass, and if he would have won that race, he would have been the national champion. He also was 3rd place in Mike Bass' first national championship. That was the event when Mike Conley and Mike Bass, Mike and Mike, who likes Mike? Well, they raced each other, and Mike Bass won that particular event, and then Mike Conley got 2nd, and Lightning Larry Shaw got 3rd place. But there was no other more consistent national Speedway rider that didn't win a championship as Larry Shaw. He was always going for it. Larry Shaw just really had a lot of Larry was one of those quiet types, the thinking man Speedway rider. And when it was time to pour it on, Lightning Larry would pour it on. He was just truly an amazing rider. He was a top rider of his time, and we would definitely call Larry Shaw a legend. Larry was just a fast guy. He was a fast racer, and that's why they call him Lightning Larry Shaw. Because Larry was a lightning guy, and on his arms he had lightning bolts down his legs. He was just a fast guy. Larry also raced in the team speedway racing in '76. That was for the San Bernardino Sizzlers. Do you know the San Bernardino Sizzlers? That's the food steakhouse, all you can eat for $5.99. Actually, the San Bernardino Sizzlers had Dennis Segalos and Big Animal Jim Fishbeck, and they were kind of in the middle or lower pack in the standings. But Larry Shaw was one of the top riders on the San Bernardino Sizzlers. Woohoo! Larry was kind of a big dude. He was 6 foot tall, 160 pounds, perfect speedway weight. He had brown or black hair and hazel green eyes. Larry Shaw was just an amazing rider. Also, Larry was among the first speedway riders to sponsor a junior speedway rider. Sonny Nutter was another one of the riders to sponsor other riders. And Lightning Larry Shaw, he sponsored Sean Mad Dog McConnell when he was just a young guy. Sean McConnell's been racing speedway all these years and has been consistently one of the top riders at Costa Mesa and at the other tracks. And he honored Larry Shaw by wearing that red uniform, the leathers, and sometimes he actually had the lightning bolts down his arms to honor Lightning Larry Shaw. When Larry was racing speedway, his hobbies were eating McDonald's hamburgers. He was too skinny to eat McDonald's hamburgers. You get fat when you eat McDonald's. That's not fair. And then he liked go-kart racing. He liked the Indy cars, the sprint cars. He liked all forms of motorsports. He wanted to be a car racer, but I don't believe he was. And then he was a drummer. Well, I'll beat to the drum. Come on, baby. And he was a good drummer, too. Larry Shaw was good at whatever he did. And he was so good as a drummer, he would play at the weekly nightclubs, and he was on the circuit being a drummer. Larry had also a few dislikes. One of the dislikes was when his speedway bike broke down. I bet I didn't see it break down very often, but he worked hard to keep that speedway bike running because he hated breakdowns. And probably another thing that Larry was upset about is that he never won a national championship, because he was definitely good to win 2 or 3 United States Speedway championships, and he missed it by that much. Larry Shaw drove a little Datsun pickup. They used to make those Datsun pickups, but not no more. And he used to always dream of being a millionaire. Why? So he could buy a Pantera sports car like Larry Huffman, the announcer of Costa Mesa Speedway. Larry drove that Pantera all the time. And Larry Shaw was upset. He was mad. He was angry because he was driving that Datsun pickup truck. But Larry had a few sponsors like Bell Helmets, Bates Leathers, Champion Spark Plugs. He was sponsored by Hagen Frames. And he was sponsored by Collins Automotive. Do you know Collins Automotive? It was on Gazelle and Orange or something like that. I don't even know if they're there anymore. But Collins bought that speedway bike and they tuned it for him. And he was just a really good rider, and lots of people liked Lightning Larry Shaw. Larry did all the maintenance on his speedway bike, basic maintenance, like all of us. We did the basic maintenance on our speedway bikes. But the engine work was done by the old Englishman, George Wynn. He was just an amazing guy. George Wynn, he was a tuner of Ivan Major in one of his world championships. He came to America, and a lot of the speedway riders at that time had their motors tuned by who? George Wynn. Larry was a quiet, yet he was an ambitious guy. They asked Larry, like, what are your goals in life as far as a speedway racer? What do you want to accomplish? And quietly and humbly, Larry Shaw turned to that person and said, I want to be a world champion. Woo! And Larry Shaw was not short of ambition, talent, and he just wanted to go for it. Unfortunately, we don't know if Larry rode in England to be that world champion, but Larry Shaw was always dreaming of being a world champion. Larry's famous speedway career came to an end in the late 1970s. He was just a fantastically consistent rider. He had those brains, he had that humility, and he was always at the top. But Larry Shaw called it quits and he moved on to some other things. Larry also has a son named Davey. Davey Shaw, number 145. You know Davey? He was a good rider. And And also he came and visited me in Boracay, and Davey and I hung out for about a week. We hung out, we checked out the chicks. Had a good time on the beach, right, Davey? It was a good time. Davey's a cool dude, and that's Larry's son. Davey was also a speedway rider, number 145, like I mentioned, and he was a good support rider. He rode really good. He won a lot of little championships, and he was a consistently good rider. I'm a friend of Larry's on Facebook, and we chatted a few times, and he's really a nice guy. I chatted with his girlfriend also, and they're just really nice people. So we really appreciate Larry Shaw for all of the good things that he's done for the sport of Speedway. He's just a fantastic guy. Thank you, Larry Shaw. Larry's kind of a humble guy. He's just a mellow guy. He doesn't really want to be remembered for his Speedway achievements. He just wants to move on and forget it. I've talked to Larry several times, and he's just kind of like over it. And we can't forget Larry Shaw because he just was a great rider, and he touched the life of so many people, and we just can't like forget about him. So we make this blog so people can remember Larry Shaw. Lightning Larry Shaw, just a truly unbelievable racer. He was a thinking man's racer, and he was good. He would go mellow during the season, and then when it came money time, Larry would turn it on. And he was just a good rider. He was one of those guys that just wants to fade into the memories of people and just go away. But we can't let that happen because Larry Shaw was truly one of the legends of early day Speedway. He was there at the revival of Speedway in 1969. In the summer of '69, yeah. And Larry Shaw was just good. So we thank Larry for all those years of Speedway, those dedication to the sport, all those times you put on that steel shoe and twisted that throttle. We really appreciate you, Larry Shaw. And we'll always remember who? Number 5, Lightning Larry Shaw.